The most important thing to mastering your business is mastering your mindset, because this is going to control your success. But it's not only that. There are 4 other things that you absolutely must master in order to have massive success online. Let's talk about those now.
This is the Unlock Success Podcast. We're helping entrepreneurs around the world dive deep into the keys you need to shatter excuses, believe in yourself, and help you achieve your highest goals. Here's your host, 8-figure entrepreneur and the living legend of internet marketing, Anthony Morrison.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to this edition of the Unlock Success Podcast. I'm Anthony Morrison, and I am excited to talk to you today about how to master your business, right? How to master your business. Look, the first thing that you want to do, and we're going to go through some foundational aspects for mastering your business, mastering growth, and truly being able to have the success that you really want and that you desire and that you deserve, right? So the very first thing that we want to talk about is learning the power of your mindset, right? So there's just absolutely no doubt about this. I've seen this. I've been doing this now for over 15 years. If you want to build a successful, especially online business, 80% of growing a business is the psychology behind your growth. 20% is the actual nuts and bolts of the business. Here's what I do. Here's the ad I have to run. Here's the thing I have to, put in place, all of that stuff. That's why it's so important that you get your mindset right. Because with business, and all businesses are going to fall into this category, right? There are always going to be obstacles, always going to be bumps in the road, always going to be adversity. And no, I can turn this button or I can click this button, I can run this ad, I know how to do this thing on this website, whatever the case may be. None of that is going to fix those problems in those moments, right? Because problems occur because we simply were not capable of or aware of how to avoid them. Right? So if we were not capable of or aware of how to avoid them, then that would seem to reason that we don't have the nuts and the bolts currently to fix that problem. We have to figure it out. And the ability to do that comes completely from our mindset, right? So we talk a lot about, and I wrote my very first book was called The Hidden Millionaire. It's called 12 Principles to Unlocking and Uncovering the Entrepreneur in You. And really what we talked about was how to set your mind right, how to think properly in certain situations so that you are capable of overcoming adversity. And that, if you ask any business expert, what's the one reason businesses fail? It is not, they will not say to you, because when they were soaring high, somebody went and played golf and ignored the business. That's not the number one reason. I'm sure that happens, but that's not the number one reason that a business fails. The number one reason business fail is because of what happens in those down moments. It's what happens when your back's against the wall and you don't know what to do and you don't know who to turn to and you don't know what actions to take. It's all about your mindset. Right? If you have this never give up mindset, which we'll talk about in a little while, you are able to persevere. You're able to be creative. We call it ingenuity, right? And you're able to find ways around those problems, okay? And find ways to solve those problems while still focusing on your business, right? Most important thing you can do is work on your mind. Be positive. Have tons of belief in yourself. No self-doubt, right? And this is the number one foundation to growing your business and mastering true success in business. Number 2 is learning to execute, right? People like to say, you've heard the saying, like, knowledge is power. But in reality, knowledge is only really potential. It's what you do with that knowledge that turns it into real power, right? So instead of constantly absorbing, you must actually end up executing, right? So you can't just watch videos on strategies about how to grow your email list or how to do a launch and how to do a webinar and all that stuff. You have to actually go out and do it, right? And listen, I promise it will be far easier to make it perfect once you've actually done it than to continue trying to create perfection without ever doing it, right? Interesting thing. We've taught so many people internet marketing, right? And you may be listening to this podcast and thinking, okay, I don't do internet marketing, and that's okay, because this applies to anyone. We've taught so many people internet marketing, and it's funny to listen to and to watch people, right? Just observe people, because when I observe, like I take 2 groups of people and people will say, well, what makes one group successful and the other not? Oftentimes what I will find is that in group A, there are a lot of people taking very imperfect action, right? They're doing something. They've got an ad running, they're building an email list, they're sending emails with broken links, they're running webinars that aren't converting, but they're doing something, right? And then in group B, there's people who are just like, eternal, educators, right? Or I guess education consumers. All they are doing is consuming education and obsessing over every little detail, right, of making things perfect. And here's the aha moment where you really see why those people are not successful. Let me tell you something. Ain't nothing in business ever going to be perfect. You're never going to run the perfect business. It doesn't happen. So if you're a perfectionist and if you're someone who only wants to consume education, but you are never going to take any type of action to put it into place because you feel like, well, I don't know it enough yet. I'm not quite there yet. I'm not quite smart enough for that yet. I don't feel comfortable doing it yet because it's not perfect, right? Then you're never going to have any success because it's never going to be perfect. They always, used to tell me, or people used to ask me, when is the right time? If not now, when, right? And I used to think to myself, well, what does that mean? If not now, when, right? And I think that what it really means, especially in business, is if you do not put into action what you are learning now, when will you, right? When are you going to? And you have to set that date and you have to set that timeline in your mind, or you'll never, ever have success. My brother is the world's worst at this. Love him to death. But his very first product launch, which ended up doing well over $30 million, the very first thing that he did was try to film so much content, try to create such a perfect product that he never finished it. It was never done. It's just the eternal project, right? Never ending. And finally, I went to him and I said, Adrian, January 1st, you're done. I'm locking you out. Whatever is there. And we're going to sell it. We're going to launch it. We're going to share this with the world. We're going to help thousands of people around the world learn e-commerce. And we're going to do it with this product, with whatever state it is in on January 1st, right? And so I took something that he had just obsessed over, just creating, but never actually actionably taking action, right? Like never actionably doing anything with it, right? Never would sell it, right? Just always going to keep trying to learn how to do it. I took that and we ended up selling $30 million worth of it. People love it. It's one of the best selling courses ever created to teach people how to do e-commerce on Shopify. So the point to that is that when you finally put into action what you're learning, that's when you have the opportunity to have massive, massive success, right? Third thing is you need to master one thing at a time. If you're in the online business space, which I know a lot of my followers and a lot of people that listen to this podcast are, look, it is flooded with people who are trying to learn everything in their business. And as a result, you absolutely learn nothing. And you're really not of any value to anybody, right? The reason I was able to build like this empire that we have for Morrison Education was because I decided to focus on and master one thing at a time. For me, the first thing was email marketing. And the stuff that I did not know how to do, here's what I did. I just asked other people that knew how to do it to help me with mine. I outsourced it. I wasn't too proud to sit there and say, I'm supposed to be the guru, so I'm not going to hire this person or I'm not going to ask this person for help. I said, hey, look, you know it better than me. I want you to do it for me, right? I would go over here and I master this one thing, right? And so what would happen is if I focused on this one thing, okay, I would become a master at this one thing. Now I know it, I can do it, I'm on my own, and then turn around and I can start mastering another thing, right? So I've gone on to master almost all areas of my business, but I still keep this concept of mastering one thing at a time, and it's ingrained in my brain and I never deviate from it, because if you're trying to do too many things at one time, you're likely going to fail, right? That's just the way that it is. So we need to have major focus and focus on one thing at a time in your business. That's how you become a master, and then you can start mastering other facets of your business, right? Super, super important. Number 4 is to be obsessed with adding value. You want to know the fastest way to get what you want? It's by helping others get what they want, right? The more products or services, the more that my products and services anyway, add value to people's lives and solve their problems and helps them accomplish their goals, the more I'm going to be able to sell. It's just that simple. So you have to look at that same thing in your business. What are you doing to serve your customers and to serve your audience at a level that nobody else is doing? Go above and beyond. Be next level. Be that one person that stands out in the crowd and like people just cannot even believe how much value you give them, because that's what's going to cause them to come back to you, right? The biggest key to success in business is not getting the first customer. It's having that first customer become a repetitive customer, a repeat customer, right? And the only way you can do that is by delivering so much value and adding so much value to their lives through your products, your services, whatever that may be, whether you're a hairstylist or a construction worker, or you have an online business, you teach education, you're a coach, a consultant, it doesn't really matter what it is. It's adding that value. It's going above and beyond for the customer, right? That's going to create that bond and that relationship with them that will cause them to be repeat customers and a customer that's going to send you more customers, right? And so super, super important to always be obsessed with adding value, not sales. Sales will come as you add more value, right? Number 5 is probably my most important and favorite one, and that is never give up. You may have noticed if you've subscribed to my email list that I always include my favorite quote, right? And it's something that's meant a lot to me as I built my business and as I've lived my life. And it applies to my relationships, it applies to my companies, and it applies to myself when I'm just trying to reach my goals, right? And the quote that I add to all of my emails and everywhere else is, you can't fail if you never give up. And I truly believe that. Even if your wins and your progress are really small, even maybe if they're stalled right now, as long as you haven't given up, you haven't failed. Right? I see so many people, even like with currently, like they invest money in the stock market, and look, we all know it's crazy. A lot of people have seen their stock portfolios drop and they feel like failures and they're like, oh my gosh. And if you had looked at that person 6 weeks ago and they said, I failed. Well, you haven't failed unless you've given up. In the stock investing scenario, it'd be unless you've sold the stock, right? If you held that stock, it's back up 80% now. You haven't failed until you give up, right? Until you give up on it. You've always got a chance. And one of the things that I teach my students, and I hope that you get from this podcast as we kind of round things down, is to never give up on your goals, never give up on your dreams, and don't let other people steal them from you, right? One of the biggest reasons that we give up in life is because the people around us force us to. We're influenced by people, by our surroundings, by what we hear on the news, what we see on the TV, what we read on the internet, and what the people that are closest to us tell us. We are directly influenced by that. And you may think that you're not. You may think that you're floating through life and you don't care what these people think. You are on your own track and you have this, but that's not true, right? Unless you have awareness, unless you are acutely aware of what people are doing and what people are saying and how they are affecting your life, you are being affected. And so my theory has always been to never give up on the things that I want and to push the people in my life who are trying to bring me down, hold me back, and tell me I can't have those dreams out of my life. Because that's the fastest way and the safest path for me, right, to stay on. Because I'll never give up as long as I'm focused on me, I'm focused on my goals, and I know that I can achieve the things that I set out to achieve. I think this is the number one thing that you have to focus on. There have been so many things in my business and in my life that really, made me stop and think, man, can I do this anymore? Will this really work? Can I really be like this? I'm just a kid from Mississippi that somehow ended up on a television show that was nationwide. Hell, it was playing in other countries and sold over 1 million copies of a book. How in the world did that happen? I can tell you right now that through that process, many times I thought about, I don't think this is going to work. I should give up. I should stop. I'm not good enough for this. Why would my television show work when 99 before mine didn't work, right? But having that mentality of never giving up, always believing I can have success, not letting fear or other people hold me back is what really allowed me to push through that. And because I was able to push through that, because I was able to believe in myself and to not give up on something that, and the biggest turning point in my professional career anyway, it just catapulted me to like levels that I never even thought I would ever achieve. I mean, a year after I filmed that show, I'm sitting at a dinner, a charity event with Richard Branson, that's like $5,000, $10,000 a seat. And I'm thinking to myself, how did I get here? And the answer was, I never gave up. And that's the most important thing that you can do. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of our Unlock Success podcast, How to Master Your Business. If you like it, please share it with other people. We're hoping every single week that we can inspire people around the world to be successful and to know what it takes to have massively successful, not only businesses, but also just relationships, lives, and happiness every single day, because I truly believe that is always our goal. Happiness and success. So thank you for listening to this episode of the Unlock Success podcast. We'll see you next time.